This presentation, Sense of Place, How Does This Apply to HT and TH, was originally presented at the AHTA 2025 conference. It has been re-recorded by Leslie Fleming and Bree Stark. The presenters have extensive experience in horticultural therapy. Leslie Fleming, HTR, has been published frequently in the Journal of Therapeutic Horticulture on topics relating to HT and TH and horticulture for health, including 2 papers in 2024 on COVID and horticulture for health, and the co-author of TH Goals with THAD examples. She has led the THAD initiative and continues in this role, as well as leading the Florida and Nova Scotia Horticulture for Health networks and publishing 2 quarterly EPUBs, Cultivate and Digging In.
Great, thanks, Bree. Bree Stark graduated from the University of Florida, Certificate in Horticultural Therapy in 2022, and works within the department assisting with teaching, administration, and student advising since fall of 2020. Bree's area of study within the field of horticultural therapy includes substance use disorder, general bereavement, unprocessed grief, and ecological grief, climate anxiety. Bree received the Anne Lane Matrovas Scholarship from AHTA in 2023, the Florida Horticulture for Health Network Professional Service Award in 2023. Bree is a first-generation college graduate with a BS in Agricultural Education and Communication 2012 through University of Florida, and she is from the rural panhandle of Northwest Florida in Walton County and is finishing requirements needed to register as a therapeutic horticulture practitioner. Okay, so I think we're ready to start. Sense of place. This is an area of interest for many, including practitioners in horticultural therapy. So examining this topic in more depth, we three, Joanna Brown, Bree, and I, in early 2025, wrote a manuscript for the Journal of Therapeutic Horticulture on sense of place. And in it, we explored what sense of place means and how it can be applied to HT and TH. It was interesting to us. We each had different experiences, and we hope it will be interesting to you on a personal level and also useful for therapeutic practice. This session will provide some definitions and theory, including how plants and sense of place can address health issues in all 5 domains. Then we will share some applications to specific populations where sense of place can be used for therapeutic purposes. These are available in THAD, that's a Therapeutic Horticulture Activities Database. A breakout segment in the conference presentation allowed participants to consider their own personal connections to sense of place, and they were able to share these with others. In this presentation, we're going to suggest that you reflect on your sense of place and plants that have been important factors for you. Okay, so plants can contribute to a sense of place. Though they may not be the only factor creating a sense of place, they can play an important role in personal attachment to geographical areas, identity, and sense of belonging. These are considered to be significant for personal wellness, social connections, and emotional stability. Sense of place has been interpreted and defined by several disciplines within the context of their own fields of expertise. Humanist geographers in the early 70s were among the first to recognize and name the experience of people bonding with spatial settings, and the example here, apple picking in an orchard. From the landscape design perspective, sensory connections with a place inform design, provide meaning, and reference phenomenology, and the example shown on this screen is Borghese Gardens in Rome. The field of environmental psychology views sense of place from an emotional perspective, describing it as attachments people develop in specific locations or places that sometimes, though not always, have distinctive elements, like gardening at grandma's. From an anthropological heritage perspective, sense of place allows people to integrate past and present, integrating physical features of cultural historical landscapes or buildings, plants, and topographical elements, occasionally contributing to a regional identity. And the photo on the screen is of Nova Scotia historic site of Acadian Dykes in Grand Pre. Researchers Scannell and Gifford suggest that the most important dimension of sense of place is the place itself. The literature on sense of place identifies concepts that are related to, but distinct from sense of place. Place attachment refers to an emotional experience, most often positive, that results from human experiences in physical spaces, like picking lemons in Italy. Place identity suggests that individuals apply self-meaning to places. They interpret experiences in the place as similar or reflective of themselves, whether it be related to their pasts, their childhood, or family histories. And the examples shown here, growing up in coastal lowland areas. Sense of place contributes to sense of community and sense of belonging, sometimes referred to as rootedness, terms that invoke emotional connections. Example here is Halifax Public Gardens in Nova Scotia. Spirit of place suggests emotional, cultural, and social bonds people make in a given environment. Perhaps one of the most relevant interpretations of sense of place from Jorgensen and Stedman, 2001, involves three dimensions, and you see them listed. Place identity, that's the cognitive component, place attachment, affective component, and place dependence, conative component. The latter is described as relating to a wish, an intention, or natural tendency that leads people to action or particular behaviors. Theorists also mention tangible and intangible qualities that form connections and give meanings to sense of place. Place, people bonding is not intrinsic to physical settings, but is a human interpretation of the setting, constructed from experiences with it. These various definitions and terms related to sense of place provide foundational knowledge for proposing applications within horticultural therapy and therapeutic horticulture, where plants may be important elements that invoke sense of place. It's important to acknowledge that plants are not the only element that can create a sense of place, and that it is each individual's experience or experiences that determine their personal sense of place. However, our paper and this presentation suggests that plants may provide an opportunity to address health challenges and goals using a sense of place theme. Plants represent and symbolize sense of place. Sense of place, as we've been saying, generally refers to geographic spaces that emote feelings from experiences people have in them. Plants play a role in this, as do other elements like topography, smells, visual cues, cultural buildings, and other designed landscape elements. So, question, can plants alone create a sense of place independent of physical settings and boundaries? This question, I think, becomes important when consideration is given for using plants as tools for creating a sense of place for therapeutic interventions. Plants on their own can transcend landscapes and be viewed and experienced as separate, independent, and capable of creating emotional connections, the key element of sense of place. They therefore can both contribute to landscape sense of place and transcend physical settings. Biophilia theory identifies a human need to connect with nature, and this can include but is not limited to plants as living organisms. Plants are familiar to most people as houseplants, landscape plants, cultural holiday decorations, or as food, fiber, and medicine. They are symbols that help form meaningful attachments to bioregions and greater communities. Examples include palm trees in tropical locations, sequoia trees in California, saguaro cacti in the Sonoran Desert, and olive trees in the Mediterranean basin. Many people perceive plants as contributing to health. Plants can be independent from physical settings. Can plants create a sense of place to be used in horticultural therapy and therapeutic horticulture interventions separate from being in a specific setting? Connections can be made in many settings without the expected physical setting of a landscape, and this can include HTTH session rooms or therapeutic gardens. The Kaplan's attention restoration theory, sometimes referred to as ART, A-R-T, informs HTTH applications, and their theory was from 1989. The concepts of nature contribute to being away, not necessarily physically away, but transported in mind and spirit. Then fascination, where thoughts and attention are stimulated, absorbing, reflective, and sense-making. The third concept, extent, where the environment engages a person comfortably and immersively, and compatibility, which is feeling enjoyment. Familiarity suggests ways that nature and plants are part of nature. All of these can support human well-being. So art theory presents these as elements for improving concentration and reducing mental fatigue. Now, these are therapeutic goals evident in therapeutic practice. Plants, we feel, can be used in the capacities art suggests, including therapeutic goals, and as the basis for therapeutic activities in HTTH. The photo here is of Singapore's National Orchid Garden. Extrapolating art to themes of sense of place used in HTTH suggests relevant applications for diverse populations. These are being applied in current practice, where individuals make emotional connections to plants with multiple dimensions. Memory and recall of places and experiences where plants trigger cognitive function is possible. Plants without associated physical space can support and create imaginative, wishful thoughts of being somewhere spiritually or emotionally without physically being there, referencing the psychological domain goals. And then touching, smelling, or even viewing, simple viewing of plants without associated physical settings can support art elements of familiarity, fascination, and being away using sensory domain inputs and goals. Research has determined that smell and memory have strong neurological brain connections and that emotional connections to memories last a long time. Plants can play a significant role in these domains. Example, the smell of lilacs associated with childhood or adulthood, and then perhaps later recalled in adulthood. Okay, Bree, can you move us into the applications, please?
Absolutely. Thanks, Leslie. So participants, can you identify some examples of these sense of place in plants in your own life? This is, once again, something we'd like you to think about as you're going through this presentation. Now we're going to share some of the applications of sense of place for specific populations. If you may have read of some of these in the Therapeutic Horticulture Activity Database, or THAD, and you may, but if not, maybe you want to look and check out the database and see all the activities that we have listed there for you. For wellness applications, HTTH practice provides services for wellness populations described as people without diagnosed health challenges necessarily, but who are interested in maintaining positive mental health and well-being, particularly given COVID and other societal stressors. There appears to be increasing demand for services that can provide strategies for maintaining good mental health, coping with anxiety and adversity, and strengthening healthy social interactions. A sense of place theme can allow for workshops, botanical garden tours, or other plant-based activity for individuals to explore self-identity, and expand self-awareness. These all contribute to good mental health. In that example, Texas Old Garden Roses, A Sense of Place, is a TH activity propagating old garden roses and incorporates goals of expanding plant knowledge, the cognitive domain, deepening personal understanding of self and historical plant references to stimulate and guide participants, the psychological domain, and using plant characteristics of Texas antique roses, asking questions about their personal characteristics, such as, can you adapt to situations? Are you prickly like a rose? Can be a positive experience with plants used to foster intellectual and cognitive activity and bolster mental health. The sense of place themes provide a non-threatening platform to explore personal, individualized journeys. Another mental health application, people experiencing substance use and or co-occurring disorders. One subset within mental health, this refers to the combination of substance use disorders such as alcohol or drug dependence with mental health conditions like depression, anxiety, or PTSD. Some individuals within this population have limited access to shelter and oftentimes receive treatment in long-term residential facilities after being incarcerated within the criminal justice system or having experienced homelessness. These disorders can oftentimes impact an individual's ability to connect with their environment and establish stability based on research that we cited in our paper. Joanne Brown wrote a DAD on sense of belonging set in residential treatment facilities. Sense of belonging, often a factor in sense of place, can be fostered in residential treatment settings for this specific population using HT and TH. Multiple therapeutic goals can be incorporated, including nurturing plant and self, establishing daily routines, and fostering a sense of community and belonging, all of which support recovery, personal healing, and growth. In the THAD activity, adopting a room plant, growing a sense of place and residential treatment, participants adopt one plant from a variety of visually stimulating houseplants to symbolize a reflection of themselves, a loved one, or a significant personal event. This concept is foundational to sense of place theory. The act of adopting and caring for their personal room plant while in a new and unfamiliar and often challenging environment introduces participants to the idea of creating a safe space for themselves, a version of a sense of place appropriate for this type of treatment environment. This HT-TH application of sense of place provides an emotional connection to plants and to a lesser extent, the natural world, where a personal plant can be a meaningful, consistent presence and part of the creation of this safe space. Establishing a safe space, which can be both a therapeutic activity and a therapeutic technique, supports participants in creating a sense of community, belonging, support system, and rootedness while caring for their plants. The therapeutic technique of participants being heard and validated, proven effective within mental health and addiction field, can also be integrated into sense of place TH activities and be important for navigating the challenges of recovery. So Leslie, can you tell us about applications of sense of place for military populations, please?
Absolutely. One such application relates to frequent relocations of active military personnel that can create a sense of impermanency and instability, not for all, but for some. Health challenges related to the military lifestyle of constant moves with limited power to determine relocations can be addressed through HT-TH applications of sense of place. So using plants as markers for station location postings can provide participants with the tools to interpret, process, and remember relocations in a positive manner. Plant metaphors, actual plants, and plant activities like potting a plant from their present location, for example, can create a sense of place and rootedness, even for a short period of time. And the example shown here is Texas bluebonnets. Place attachment can provide positive affective connections. THAD multiple relocation sense of place military was written specifically for this population and situation with goals identified across the 5 health domains, and you can see them on the screen. The TH focus on exploring their station locations and putting in place a strategy whereby plants can provide a positive connection for the present and future, allows perspectives to shift or expand to include environment as well as plant elements. Interpreting sense of place can be important for military families, where plant activities can be shared as family time, including plant-focused activities like visiting local gardens, collecting plants from station locations, maybe even starting a garden, or attending a sense of place workshop. Another population where sense of place, TH, can be used, incarcerated populations. People that comprise the incarcerated population typically have limited access to nature and plants, live in isolated settings, and have complex and multidimensional health issues, including mental health diagnosis and behavioral misconduct frequently. HTTH interventions addressing self-regulation of dysfunction, weak social skills, trauma, stress, and substance misuse are being seen in practice. And what we're also seeing is sense of place. HTTH can provide opportunities to mentally transport people to less stressful, plant-rich nature settings that are restorative and which can provide cognitive, wishful thoughts. Practicing methods that can shift negative mood and attitudes to more positive ones can be impactful for people in challenging situations like incarceration. And the example here, Thad first encounter with Florida plants, uses plants specific to this state to reduce negative thoughts, immersing participants in visually appealing, fragrant, and intriguing tropical plant life. HTTH techniques can be adapted for populations not able to do an outdoor walk or visit Florida for such a session. Photos and live plant specimens can be substituted to create a sense of place like Florida, where plants like bird of paradise or sensory stimulation and cognitive psychological function can expand positive moods and attitudes without actually being in the physical Florida location. Okay, so Bree, will you share with us the two populations you wrote about in the Journal of Therapeutic Horticulture article we hope will be published?
Absolutely, Leslie. One of the populations that I became particularly interested in context of this sense of place applications were refugees, climate refugees, and immigrant populations. Refugees are an expanding population with at least 43.7 million refugees worldwide, according to the United Nations, and have high rates of emotional and mental health issues, having been displaced and often losing family, being exposed to violence, and loss of important cultural foodways. Climate refugees and immigrants, though they're not really the same thing, but for today's purpose, we're kind of lumping everybody together and we're sharing some common aspects like trauma, anxiety, and major life changes, which present with a number of health challenges. TH and HT can try to establish links and sense of belonging to new communities and or reestablish sense of place for their homelands. The THAD example, Eating Plant Parts, Immigrant Refugees, explores ethnobotany and food traditions from homelands while focusing on nutrition. TH can be used to create a sense of place for their new locations and communities using a food and nutrition focus, where activities designed around locally significant plants and foodways, including foraging for those who come from a culture where foraging is an important part of life. This can help create a sense of place within their new community and their new bioregion, and add a bolster to their nutrition, and which the latter is an issue that research has identified with negative health impacts on immigrant and displaced refugee populations. The TH sessions can use plants separate from or including their physical settings to create a sense of place in this context. It should be noted that TH programs at community gardens are being used in this way already. And our last example today, I also wrote about children and teen applications because creating a sense of place at a young age is vital for human development. Human geographers refer to children forming their sense of place through sensory interactions with their immediate family and homes, their greater community, and their natural as well as their built environments. These areas of experience also enhance their physical, cognitive, and emotional development, providing the basis for understanding of the world around them, developing their sense identity and belonging, which in turn informs their sense of place into adulthood. For younger children, 3 to 6, learning about native flowers through sight and touch and smell, or eating seasonal fruits, whether native or domesticated, can help form a connection with their local environment. That example of sensory bin can support this sense of place, including using plants without a physical setting. For older children or teens, the example of creating a teenager's field guide published in THAD can create a sense of place involving both plants and physical setting like a schoolyard or a park. Therapeutic goals can include working towards developing independence and self-identity while expanding botany, horticulture knowledge, and research skills and as they're preparing their field guide. Therapeutic goals can be integrated into TH and HT sessions where sense of place is the theme. The THADs that were mentioned demonstrate how this can be done in all health domains. There are presently 15 THADs with sense of place focus, and they span all THAD activity areas: planting, food, plant care, creative expression. A listing of these THADs will be shared at the conclusion of this presentation. Using sense of place across populations for therapeutic outcomes can broaden the HT and TH field. The versatility in practice can incorporate workshops, clinical HT, one-on-one sessions, recreational gardening, designing gardens, interventions for individuals at various life stages and experiences with all types of health issues can provide for their personal interpretation and use of plants and sense of place. This can be empowering and creative with the capacity to expand personal awareness, process familial relationships, or cope with situations generally. One quick note for practitioners: not all sense of place experiences with plants are positive, and that's something that we have to keep in mind when developing these sense of place activities. In the context of using sense of place as an HT-TH intervention, we're looking for positive, ideally. The exception would be where participants' health challenges involve traumatic experiences where their emotional memories were tied to plants in the traumatic situation. For example, an environment where an environment with plants where a crime occurred, like a park or a forest, or a natural disaster happened, like a forest fire. Interventions can work towards seeing some elements of sense of place, say one plant or one plant fragrance, as a positive attribute, not assigning negativity to all aspects of sense of place through plants. This may allow the person to move forward in the therapeutic process. Summarizing sense of place used in HT-TH, hopefully this presentation has expanded everyone's understanding of the people-plant connections where sense of place and plants specifically alone or as part of an environment can create emotional bonds that can be used in HT-TH practice to address a range of health issues. Various facets of sense of place include place attachment, place identity, sense of community and belonging can provide the basis for health interventions. The applications we presented demonstrate how and where plants can play a key role in intervention activities in support of health improvements across many populations. These are our list of THADs with sense of place themes. References are available in the THADs as well as our paper, which will hopefully be published sometime in the near future. There are 15 THADs published to date with sense of place focus, as I mentioned before. And these are selected references from our paper and the ones that we used for this presentation. Here are our photo credits along with the slides on which they appear. And if anyone would like to contact us, here's our contact information, and we would love to hear from you. Would you like to add anything at the end, Leslie?
I think that this covers a broad range of topics. I think the THADs, which have been written by numerous practitioners, really do shed some light on new activities and new perspectives that we as practitioners can use across populations. So hopefully the ones that we've shared today and the ones in the Therapeutic Horticulture Activities database will be used by practitioners. We would be interested in hearing what applications you have. And Bree, thanks for sharing your experiences with certain populations. And I think hopefully this presentation will benefit practitioners and other interested parties.
Yeah, I hope so too. And thank you everybody for listening in, and we hope to talk to you again in the future.